Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
I would like to start this podcast by thanking the Detroit Red Wings for including my daughter Mika in their lovely Wings Things video they posted on Instagram today.
And that's the only nice thing you're going to say today about the Red Wings.
It's all downhill from here, folks. So if you're here for me to shine a positive spin on this team right now, or, the optimistic outlook, no, this is not the episode for that. I'm going to stop talking in a couple seconds so Ryan can do a lovely intro and the sponsorships, and then it's just going to be hellfire and brimstone for the next hour to hour and a half.
For context, that's all we've been talking about, or it's all I've been talking about is like the house. Mel and I are in crunch time. We have today, tomorrow, and Saturday to get the house ready to move in and then move out of our apartment. And that's a lot of things that we don't have done yet. And so I told Brad, I was like, hey, I'm on a timeline today and I'm exhausted. And Brad looked at me and said, well, that's good because you are not getting a word in tonight. And that's not true. I have some words, but you know what, Brad, you missed last episode and, that rarely happens. And so I'll let you catch up on those. We'll call them words, but I'm afraid we might have a Mike Milbury minute in there. I'm afraid we're going to have...
Minute doesn't even come close to enough.
Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
I'm angry.
And Evan is sniffly today, and so he's at home continuing the tradition of one of us being sick.
Fun fact, he took 2 days off work. Probably caught what I got. I didn't miss a day of work.
This episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast is brought to you by Labatt. We want you to celebrate with Labatt Blue and the Detroit Red Wings all season long, even when they get drubbed 6-0. You can find your specially designed cases of Labatt Blue and Labatt Blue Light at your local retailer to #SellYon. Keep your eyes peeled for limited edition team cans. Labatt Blue and Labatt Blue Light, the official Canadian beers of the Detroit Red Wings and of the statue we're going to build for Jonathan Bernier at some point in front of the LCA.
Jonathan Bernier didn't even dress for that game. He was so sick.
That poor man. This is not what he wanted to do tonight.
And what do the Detroit Red Wings, what do his team, what do his friends do in front of him? They allow the Toronto Maple Leafs 54 shots on goal. They generate, less than 30 themselves? Did they even have 5 scoring chances? That was the most pitiful effort of hockey I have seen in a long damn time. You couple that with the fact that you have no backup goalie, a dude named Josh Block sitting in the room, probably also pooping in his pants, much like Jonathan Bernier was, knowing what he was about to face if Bernier went down.
Oh, I hate you for that.
Yeah, I don't care. This is embarrassing. There's no secrets on these podcasts. For years and years and years, as the Red Wings have become one of the basement dwellers of the NHL, we've been very pro-tank.
Yeah.
We want the high draft pick. We know we need an Alexi Lafreniere or a Quentin Byfield to turn this team around and really turn them into a contender. This is no secret.
No.
And last night was, sure, a positive step in that direction. The Red Wings lost 7 games last year by 4 or more goals. They have done it 8 times this year. It's not even December yet. The fact that they could put forth an effort like that in front of a goalie who's literally dying in the crease is just sickening. There is tanking and then there is disgraceful. What we watched last night was 2015 Buffalo Sabres levels of just bad. I am now convinced that Ryan's tinfoil hat theory of Steve Yzerman actively tanking and actively losing this season because he's aware, like us, he needs a top pick, are true, because there is nothing left. There is nothing in my mind that can defend Jeff Blashill's job. If you can't motivate your team to put forth a good effort in front of a goalie dying behind them, you can't. You've lost the room. This is all speculation. I'm aware that nothing is true and we don't know, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You had a string of 4 straight blowouts not that long ago. The Red Wings are dead last in the NHL by 3 points, and the team ahead of them has 4 games in hand. It's not even December yet. How the hell is that possible in a league of parity? 4 games in hand, last place by 3 points.
You know they're going to end up third last, right?
Yes, I'm fully aware there's a winning streak coming, and I'm pretty sure the only reason Blashill hasn't been booted to the curb is because he's good for the tank, and there will be no winning streaks, and this team is going to finish dead last by a comfortable margin, and we all know we're picking 4th overall.
This episode is going to be titled "Ryan Turns Down Brad's Gain Continually," as he speaks.
I can't. This is like, what part of this team is acceptable right now?
All right, yeah, you know what? Like, it's okay to suck. Everyone with a head screwed on their shoulders knows that this team sucks and that this team was going to suck coming into the season. I think we all had them projected second last or last in the league, or among that. It's okay to suck. It's okay to lose 4-1, 5-1 from time to time. It's okay to just, have really bad efforts where you play a team of superstars like the Toronto Maple Leafs and you say, yeah, that looks like a team of superstars playing a tank team. That's fine. We know that's going to happen. Last night was worse than that. Last night there was zero effort. Last night was a disgrace to the jersey that they were wearing. It was the most pathetic attempt at hockey I've ever seen Detroit play. And you know what? I am factoring in the fact that everyone's hurt. I am factoring in the fact that there's no Mantha. I am factoring in the fact that, Howard got hurt and they had their backup goalie and who is sick. I know all of that. You still have to do better than what they did. They were paced for 60 shots on goal against after the second period. And you might think, oh, well, after the third period, they might be able to at least slow that down. No, they still finished with, 55?
I think it was 54, 55 shots against. It's just, and it's not even, I know you guys talked about it the last episode, the Sunday game against Carolina where they generated 20 shots and lost 2-0. They got blown out by the New Jersey Devils on Saturday, the team that's in 30th place in the NHL right now. They've been, if you count losses by 4 goals as being blown out, they have 8 blowouts a quarter of the way through the season.
This is everyone. I think all of us, said the Red Wings are going to be worse this year than they were last year. That was kind of a given.
I figured a wash, maybe.
I don't think it's tinfoil hat. I think Jeff Blashill's job is protected through this season. And you know what? I'll go so far as to say I think it's protected through next season as well.
No, I do not. I think unless there's a dramatic turnaround, this isn't acceptable. Even Yzerman, who's pro tank, can't be looking at this and going, we can't have this culture all of next year. The Red Wings have played 27 games? They have 17 points. I'm just curious. 17 divided by equals that times 82. Oh, no, that's not right. I'm trying to get their point total over 82 games here.
I'll do that for
you. Yeah, you got it on the computer. You'll be quicker. We're talking this team is 16-7, or what year was it the Colorado Avalanche just went nuclear? Because the Red Wings are pushing that right now.
They're on a 51.62 point pace.
Holy shit.
I projected them to be last in the league with 74 or something like that.
And they're on pace for 51.
Yeah.
Hey, this is how, to be fair, this is how you mitigate a late March winning streak.
Oh, yeah.
When you're so 30 points behind.
Look, I know we joke a lot about, that win streak, lost his Hughes. I don't think that notion is completely gone from Yzerman's mind. I think he's saying, this team cannot afford to lose out on another top-end center or another top-end player, like a possible generational talent, because, we decided to string together 4 Darren Helm game winners. We need to be so far in the hole that won't matter. Look, it's not like Yzerman's going to the room every night and saying, oh, boys, don't give it your all. This is killing Larkin. This is killing Bernier. This is killing... Who do we have left on defense? Hronek. But the fact of the matter is that this team is not equipped to win games, but they at least have to put out the effort. I feel bad for every single Detroit Red Wings fan who paid, the 2.5 times premium to go to the LCA tonight to see them play a century-old rival in the Toronto Maple Leafs. That sucks. That they probably dropped $100, $200 for those seats just to watch not even a single goal and 55 shots against. That sucks.
The Red Wings haven't scored a goal in over 150 minutes. They basically haven't scored a goal since almost the exact time Mantha went down with an injury.
You know how bored I've been watching the games?
That game against Carolina on Sunday was the worst hockey game I've ever watched in terms of entertainment value. At least with last night's game, if you were a Leaf fan, you were entertained. Sunday night, nobody enjoyed that. Also, even Carolina won. Carolina fans hated that game.
Leafs fans, Screw you guys. You led everyone to believe that Willie Nylander wasn't amazing at hockey. Holy shit, that guy's good.
Yeah, screw you. Screw you all.
Chief Keef, man. That's the second coming.
This is just every aspect of this team is 4 players were not a minus in the game last night. 4. That's it.
Zadina.
Yes.
Actually?
Yes. Zadina was an even 0.
Hronek.
Yes. Somehow a Red Wings defenseman came out of that game clean.
Not Helm.
It was not Helm.
Who else? Who are the other 2?
Filppula? And you ready for the one that's going to blow your mind?
Tell me this.
Athanasiou.
Wings Twitter is in shambles. In shambles, I tell you. Are you kidding?
Athanasiou, well, they played as a line, Athanasiou, Filppula, and Zadina for a bit in the second period and actually looked competent. They got a few chances there. So naturally, Blashill went back to Helm, Zadina, and Filppula for the third period, which, by the way, the dude who lives and dies by the blender when they're winning, when they're losing, period by period, game by game, we're throwing this blend. The Red Wings have just played their 3 worst offensive games of the season. And he hasn't changed a goddamn thing. We're still rolling Darren Helm on the second line. We're still rolling Athanasiou with Glendening and fucking Franz Nielsen. Okay, you had a second line that worked with Fabry, Athanasiou, and Filppula. Why'd you break that up? They're all healthy. Oh, you're missing Anthony Mantha on the first line? Cool, we recalled Philip Zadina. Just put him there. They're both goal scorers. Yes, Zadina is not Anthony Mantha yet. But you know who else doesn't belong in the top 6? Darren Helm! Ugh, it's maddening. I hate the blender. I'm almost happy that, hey, he's finally sticking with the decision he made. And of course, it's at the wrong damn time after he made a bad lineup decision. I can't. This whole season, I have been trying to give Blashill the benefit of every doubt because I felt I was unfairly harsh to him over previous. I can't. I do not see anything redeeming at this point in the season about him being the coach of the Detroit Red Wings. I'm out of ideas because I at least thought after the last couple seasons, well, at least the team plays for him. They do not.
Going into Sunday's game, Evan and I recorded before that game and we said, don't expect Zadina to get, those first line minutes, those top 6 minutes or quality line mates because again, he was playing third night in a row and 4th game in 5 days. And that's to be expected. You don't want to burn that kid out or put him at risk to injury, especially when he's replacing Anthony Mantha. Look, I don't care genuinely about Athanasiou's plus minus. I know we've had some comments suggesting why it is a good indicator of some things he's not doing well. And I think you're all right. I think there are some things in the defensive game that Athanasiou is not doing well. But you know who else isn't doing well in the defensive game? The rest of the damn Detroit Red Wings. The whole freaking team is garbage at defense. Plus minus is a team stat, whether you like it or not. And if Athanasiou sucks at defense, you're right. That shouldn't be the case. But a lot of things shouldn't be the case, and we kind of should be looking for silver linings right now. So taking him off that second line just boggles my mind. Filppula, Fabry, Athanasiou was the only competent line we've had all year for the past 5 games. Where
that wasn't Helm Larkin.
Right. That wasn't
Larkin Mantha.
That wasn't that first line. And for the last 5 games that they actually had together, I would wager that they were better than Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha.
In a few of those games, yep.
So why on earth are you demoting Athanasiou? Okay, whatever. That's one thing. Mantha goes down. Like Brad said, who do you replace him with? A goal scorer. What does that allow you to do? Keep your good second line together that has chemistry, and then you have Bertuzzi, Larkin, who have proven Bertuzzi, Larkin, X is a good line. Bertuzzi, Larkin, Helm was a good line. Bertuzzi, Larkin, whoever else was up there was a good line. Bertuzzi, Larkin, Mantha is an amazing line, but they've proven that Bertuzzi and Larkin can make anyone who's that third player do well. What player that could be the third player on that line could really use a boost? Maybe a guy who rides high on confidence and needs confidence in his first few games of this season and his 10th and 11th games of his career? Zadina, just do it. Why are you so allergic to giving him top line minutes? Very clearly nothing else matters. What, you're preserving your sacred right to lose 6-0 to the Leafs? It does not make any damn sense why he's not being given quality line mates. Just give him the first line mates. Or if you're not, then you screw up the top 6 and keep those top 6 in the top 6. Enough with Helm up there. Enough with Glendening up there. Enough putting Athanasiou with some, like, Nielsen and Glendening and Helm. I'm sorry. I don't care how you feel about them. They are not good line mates for skilled players, plain and simple. I made the joke after that one game where Glendening had that sweet backhand goal. I said, oh, a typical good goal score, or a typical great play from Red Wings skill players like Luke Glendening. You know how many people took that seriously?
Too many. Jeff Blashill took that seriously.
Zadina might go up there and suck on the top line. He might drag down the top line. He might actually cost them goals because of a mistake. He might miss a wide open net, and it will still be worth it. Because there's literally no other point to these games right now other than to develop your team. They're not winning. They're not being they're not playing entertaining hockey. What are you? It's like they're trying to. Someone said they're spreading out the scoring, so now there's 0 goals on every line, and that was the most accurate representation I've seen about it.
Since Jeff Blashill put the current lines together as they are, the Detroit Red Wings have scored 0 goals.
Just keep Fabry, Athanasiou, and Filppula together. All of them were on a heater. All of them were hot.
Athanasiou had finally turned around after his snake-bitten start to the season, and now he's with Franz Nielsen and Luke Glendening. And you know who was on a heater in the AHL? Filip Zadina. Filip Zadina should not be here, if we're being honest.
No.
He should not be here right now. He needs to stay as far away from this mess as he can. There's a reason that every other injury, they weren't calling him up. Seider hasn't been up. Veleno hasn't been up. Rasmussen has. There's a reason, Rasmussen injuries, but why now? Why not? I think Yzerman called him up. Oh, we lost Anthony Mantha on the first line.
I think you're exactly right.
Let's just plug in Zadina there and see what happens. He's on a heater now. If he can get a heater going at the NHL level, hey, maybe he'll be in the NHL the rest of the year. We burn that ELC. We get him on the next contract cheaper because less of a sample size, like Prashant has been trumpeting. Great. This is, man, if I'm Stevie, I'm Philip, man, get back to Grand Rapids already. Christ, I would literally call him in my office and be like, man, I'm sorry. This is not what we meant to happen. Go score some goals, buddy.
There's no other explanation at this point other than what you said earlier. I think anybody who would count on Jeff Blashill being anything other than what he is on the other side of this rebuild it's a pipe dream, and it would be a miracle if they were right. Because keeping him right now, the only value that it's adding to this team is helping the tank.
Now, they did put him on the first power play unit.
That's great. Oh, that's awesome.
And do you know how many power plays the Red Wings drew yesterday? Ryan, take a guess.
2. 1. 0.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, my.
It was such a bad game to watch. Oh, I'm happy. You know what else was bad?
Madison Bowie.
Madison Bowie.
Had this by Dom Lucian's game score, had the statistical worst game of the season for any player in the entire NHL. I defended you, Madison.
And you know what? You ran last episode, so you didn't have to face me. And then he doubled down on you.
I will argue his New Jersey game was worse than last night just from pure optics because he had some more blatantly bad giveaways. But so I figured it out, and someone tweeted it at me, and I apologize for not giving you credit, but someone figured out who he is. Madison Bowie is Tim the Toolman Taylor. He has all the tools in the world and no functioning clue how to use them. He can skate pretty well. He's got hands. He can make passes. He's got a shot because he makes the plays every once in a while. We see them and we're like, geez. Even in that meltdown game against New Jersey, he made a hell of a play to set Taro Hirose up for Hirosi's goal.
Yeah.
The last goal the Red Wings scored, by the way. And you're like, wow. And then the rest of the game, he's like Brendan Smith if Brendan Smith did many drugs before a game.
Brendan Smith already wasn't that great.
Yeah, I know. It's just...
Actually, Brendan Smith is a poor man's Brendan Smith. And Brendan Smith is already a poor man's someone else.
And Brendan Smith is now playing forward for the New York Rangers.
Look,
which might not actually be a bad option.
I think you're being
honestly
generous with Madison Bowie by saying he's got tools. I don't think he has tools. I think he's got 0 hockey IQ.
No, I agree with that. He can skate. We've seen him win races. He can shoot. We've seen him bury some point shots. He can pass. We've seen him do it numerous times this year. I think it's just a broken clock being right twice a day at this point.
100%. I think when this team actually has players to put in his place, because right now they don't. They literally don't even have the warm bodies. They'd have to weekend at Bernie someone else. He will be a career AHLer.
I might not hate him on the fourth line wing.
I would.
I'm here for the chaos at this point, Ryan.
Right now, the most he's adding to my sanity and happiness is how funny it is that you went on and defended him, and then he went and did that to you.
He did that. He got worse. He was playing passable when I did that. Not good defensively. He was still bad defensively, but he was contributing enough in the offensive zone. I'm like, hey, this is a positive. He's turning it around. And then, as soon as I say it, the literal next game, he just doubles down on how much he sucks. It's... Oh, this whole team.
So the Red Wings, they obviously lost to Carolina before this terrible loss to Toronto. The best thing that happened that game was Zadina dangled around Jacob Slavin and Dougie Hamilton to set up Filppula for a scoring chance.
A beautiful scoring chance. That should have been a goal.
Yeah, Filppula should have buried it, so that was great to see.
And Zadina had, I think, 2 legitimate scoring chances against Toronto last night, like 2 of the 5 the Red Wings had. Jonathan Eriksson had one of them, which was weird.
That's the season we're having right now.
Yeah, Zadina looks good, and I want him in the minors. That's the state of this team right now.
Now we've talked about this before. To start the year, we said success for this team success for Zadina means he stays up most of the year. We want him to be a Red Wing, and then once we saw exactly how bad that the Red Wings are playing this year, how terrible this is and how awful it is for anyone's development who hasn't actually had a chance to break into the league, we said, oh no, keep him down with Veleno, with Rasmussen, with Svechnikov, with Seider. Yeah, we're still pretty firmly on that. I think Brad would agree too. Keep him down there, keep them all down there. Like Seider is 100%. Seider's playing fantastic in Grand Rapids. Like, yeah, he still has his mistakes, but he's a human highlight reel. He stands players up every game. Last night he made a pass or shot the puck in, and then someone went to go finish the hit on him, and then he dropped them. He's so exciting to watch, and I have no interest in watching him in Detroit for a long time. I would love to see them burn a year of his ELC, get that done sooner, get him his 10 games, but at the same time, I don't want them to subject the young guys who are impressionable and still developing to this shit show, because that's all it really is. It's just absolutely brutal. Yeah, a couple people said, how are you guys going to put a positive spin on this? We're not. There's you can put a positive spin on games like, the Columbus game where they lost 5-4, or the Anaheim game a week before where they won in overtime. Sure, there's good things to be taken. Literally, those 2 Zadina plays that we talked about were the only positive things the last 2 games.
Yeah, that's it. Larkin looks lost. Larkin doesn't look anything like Dylan Larkin.
Is Larkin hurt?
He has to be, because if not, we dump on the lower end players on this team for poor performances and poor stretches all the time. And we've let Dylan Larkin completely off the hook because he has not been good for the last 5 to 10 games. Just flat out. He hasn't. Now, Dylan Larkin being bad is still a capable NHLer. So his mistakes aren't highlight laughably bad like a Madison Bowie or a Franz Nielsen.
Yeah.
But he's not been good. Tyler Bertuzzi's been invisible, but that's kind of his thing because he needs his line mates to be clicking. Fabry's cooled off, but that's fine. He just regressed to the main. Filppula's been fine. The rest of the Athanasiou has been fine. The rest of the
still his random one-off chance that he generates.
Yeah, it's like who can we say over the last Hronik?
That's it.
That's it. He's been the only consistent. Bernier. I'll give Bernier a pass.
Bernier for saving as much as he did while puking his guts out.
Yeah, and even the game against New Jersey, he was getting shelled and he played well.
Yeah.
Like if you take away, because the Devils scored 5 goals, but there was an empty netter and then a goal with 10 seconds left. That didn't matter. So yeah, I think Bernier's been fine.
Before next episode, they have Philly on Friday afternoon, 4 p.m. game, which is weird.
What?
And then, it's annoying.
Oh, actually, I work till 4:30, so I'll catch most of it. So, I could view that as a positive and a negative. Positive, I miss part of it. Negative, I'm going to watch most of it.
Yeah. Saturday night, prime time against the Capitals. So.
Oh, another back-to-back. Yeah. Wonderful. This will go great, because we'll probably have Calvin Pickard in that one.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see him. The rest of the hockey world has been uneventful. Nope, just kidding.
Nothing happened.
So, Evan and I covered the Mike Babcock fallout, and we've been talking about Babcock for 3 episodes now. And we'd stop if there ever was a reason to, but it continued. So story dropped rather quickly about someone, I think it was the Toronto Sun, said there's a story from way back, like a few years ago, where Mike Babcock had a rookie name his, Brad's showing me this Bills score. That's for the jar. Doesn't matter if you didn't say it out loud. Mike Babcock made a rookie NHL or a rookie Maple Leaf list his teammates' compete level from best to worst, and he made him do it. So he made him say who he thought wasn't competing the most, or who he thought was the laziest on the ice, and then he read that list out to the team in front of the whole team or something like that, or he pulled them in for a meeting. It was later confirmed that this was Marner, and then he listed Kadri at the bottom. And it caused this huge tiff, and Kadri and I believe Bozak actually came to Marner's defense after Marner explained. Like, Marner was really upset about it, which was like, that story, I was like, that's a lot. That's a bullshit move from a coach. Like, that is absolutely garbage to do to a player. It's not completely unheard of. Obviously, that happens a lot, depending on the kind of coach you have, but like, that's a shitty thing to do, right? And I was like, oh man, that's a big story. And then a few people came out and confirmed it. They're like, oh yeah, I knew about this. I just couldn't get double confirmation about it, et cetera, et cetera. And then Babcock confirmed it. And I was like, oh my God, this is real. Babs, why? Bro, why? What the hell? And then it was just like, we thought the floodgates opened on Sunday. No, the floodgates really opened. People were coming out with stories left, right, and center. And I was to the point where I was like, man, Babcock might actually have a hard time finding his next job. He'll find it, but he might actually have to find a sympathetic general manager.
Time heals all wounds, and it's going to take time for people to forget about this, because we all had our, we'll call it suspicions of Babcock. There was rumors Zetterberg didn't like him and yada, yada, yada. Carlo Koliakovo came out and said when he was with the Wings, they were trying to get him fired in the player.
Yeah, it was nuts.
At the end of every season, there were rumblings that, well, obvious, and I would have guessed this just by the thing that list thing with Marner probably wasn't his first rodeo on that tactic. So, it probably happened in Detroit, which probably explains my immediate gut reaction of why he seemed to have a rocky relationship with Tatar and Nyquist.
That's exactly who came to mind.
Yeah, there's no reports of that. We're just speculating. Man, you hate to kick a guy when he's down, but man, don't make it so easy.
Well, you know what? Babcock owes dinner to Bill Peters, because with this flood of people coming out and telling stories about like coaches who have been like verbally abusive or emotionally abusive, it's like a lot of like bigger stuff than what Babcock did started coming out. And like Dan Carcillo was putting it out. He's like, I have so many DMs right now is telling me about coaches who are coaching professional hockey up to the NHL who like were abusive, like emotionally, physically, sexually. Like, these guys are like, not all in the NHL, some in the CHL, some in different leagues, but still. And you're just like, oh man, these floodgates are opening. And then Akeem Alou, who is a former Windsor Spitfire, and then was with the Rockford Ice Hogs, not Dogs, Ice Hogs, which was a Chicago Blackhawks affiliate, came out and with the story about Bill Peters, the Calgary Flames current, although maybe not current, head coach, when he came in and dropped the N-word directly to Akeem Alou multiple times in like one sentence. And apparently the whole room was, and this happened a decade ago, and the whole room was shocked, and he said he never apologized for it. Or I believe he said he never apologized for it. Regardless,
report was confirmed by two other players in the room,
independently corroborated. So like this happened while Calgary was playing. By the time they got off the ice, Brad Treliving, Calgary GM, was already in front of the media saying we're investigating. They didn't open up Bill Peters for comment. So, at that point, they're like, this doesn't surprise us, or like, we know that this might be true. So they immediately shut all that down. And then by the next day, it had spiraled to the point where former Flames player, Carolina player,
Michael Jordan,
or more affectionately, number 23, Michael Jordan, talked about, he's like, you hate to kick a guy when he's down, but you're not going to find sympathy from me for Bill Peters. He used to be abusive, like physically even. One time he kicked me like really hard in the back during a game, and he used to punch players in the head and shit.
Apparently, I forget what reporter, someone corroborated another story about a defenseman that got hit in the head by Bill Peters. The defenseman confirmed the story, but wanted to remain anonymous because obviously he's probably still playing and doesn't want to be in the middle of this.
Yeah.
This show, we'll call it.
So all of that, you have a racial slur being dropped, and now and also corroborated evidence or a corroborated story of you kicking a player in the back during a game and punching people in the head. Like this guy, you're like, oh, this guy's never coaching a game for the Flames again. Maybe in the NHL again.
Flames are playing as we speak, and he's not behind the bench.
Yes.
But he's also not been fired.
So it's been reported that he's been all but fired internally, and they're just basically going through a bunch of legal crap so they can actually terminate him, not fire him. They want to terminate his contract so they don't have to pay him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? He released an apology letter, which was, I think still had a code for how it was filed in the legal system, so his lawyer wrote that letter.
Yeah, because you know who he didn't apologize to in that letter? Akeem Aliu or Michael Jordan.
Who was it? Who's that guy who follows everyone, that hockey player?
Zach Boychuk.
Zach Boychuk started talking about like the fine line that coaches have to walk. Yeah, maybe don't call people the N-word or don't use the N-word, period. Just don't.
Don't use it. Don't hit people. Pretty much everything.
Oh, those fine lines of don't kick my players.
If you just take those two things off the table, you still have a whole lot of wiggle room.
Oh, I like his apology, like very eloquently written, completely missed the mark. Everyone's like, well, what, sorry's not good for anything these days. Everyone wants more. I was like, he didn't even apologize to the guy. And he's sorry that he got caught. Do you think that stopped 10 years ago? Do you really think that? Because Michael Jordan played for him, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
That was still there, man. I'm sorry. It's not like that's the first and only time in his life he's done shit like that.
And then there's the whole Carolina fallout from this, where
Yeah.
Brenda Moore was saying, basically said, it happened, but I'm super proud of how the guys handled it. Peter Carmanos, the former owner of the Hurricanes, said, had this been brought to my attention, he'd have been fired. Ron Francis got dragged into this because apparently it created a huge rift that Francis wouldn't get rid of him. And
well, you know what? He should get dragged into it because how do you not fire him after that?
No,
if you know that happened, that's on Ron Francis. I'm sorry, man. You're his boss and you don't get rid of him. That's on you. He should be catching heat for this. Ron Francis is not, I don't care how, good of a reputation he is or how well liked he is, by me even, he should be dragged into this. I think he absolutely should be fully in the spotlight. Answer as to why you knew about this and didn't do anything about it. It's garbage. You don't get to hit people. I'm sorry. If you hit a professional hockey player, if you kick him in the back and he doesn't turn around and beat the ever-loving hell out of you, you're a lucky man. He's lucky he didn't get the absolute life beat out of him. These guys are the peak athlete. They're at their peak physical fitness. They could beat you to within a pulp, and you're lucky they valued their career more than your health. Because otherwise, he is absolutely dead if he tries that crap. Imagine he walked up on the street and kicked someone in the back or called a black guy the N-word. He's dead. It's an abuse of power. It's disgusting, and he deserves to be gone.
I'm going to kick one of my employees in the back tomorrow just to see what happens.
Yeah, just see what happens.
Yeah, if I make it through the day.
You know what? I'm actually, like anything that's controversial, not everyone's on the same side about this, but the world's been pretty split about a lot of controversial things, a lot of them relating to hockey recently. Almost everyone that I've seen has been on the right side of this, and so that's been good.
Yeah. Sport that doesn't have a problem with racism dealing with second racism incident in less than a month.
The Onion and the Beaverton
nailed it.
They are laughing. The world is just giving them their material. They don't even have to do anything to change it. Oh, it's so good. So I think by the time we talk next, Bill Peters will have been fired, and if he's not, then oh boy, are the Flames going to hear it. Yeah.
And the crappy thing is, a really, really neat thing happened in Calgary either last night or the night before that's not being talked about. TJ Brody's playing. TJ Brody scored a goal. TJ Brody had a seizure 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I missed that. Not the seizure, that he's back playing.
He's back playing, and he scored his first goal of the season since returning.
That's awesome.
But nobody cares because their coach is an awful person, apparently.
I'm not going to sit here and defend Mike Babcock for, what he did with Marner or everything that's coming to light. It's like, you know what? The guy's made millions, and if he's been a jerk, he's deserved to be a jerk. I'm not comfortable with people lumping in what he did with what Bill Peters did. You cannot like someone, you can think they're an asshole, and you can think that, yeah, you know, they didn't treat their players the best, or even, you could even say, like, whatever, if he was emotionally abusive to Marner, that's not the same as what Bill Peters did. We have not a single story of Babcock using a racial slur or legitimately physically assaulting someone. So I'm not exactly comfortable with him being lumped in. You can call him a jerk for, you know, sitting Mike Modano at 1,499 games, or scratching Jason Spezza for his first career start in Toronto, his hometown. But I don't think it's fair to pull him into, however related he is by how all this came out, to pull him into everything with Bill Peters. It's a whole different story. I think this is going to change the game, though, with how, you know, not to say the shift of power has changed. I think the shift of power away from coaches and to players has been happening regardless. But I hope that this, you know, old boys club protection of obviously garbage people no longer is the thing in hockey, so that when people do things like what Bill Peters did, they're exposed, they're let go, and they're removed from the sport completely, because there's no room for that. Believe it or not, you can be a great hockey coach without, you know, being a racist or a physical abuser. Believe it or not. It's crazy to think.
The cycle of the same coaches will repeat on loop forever. Although it makes you wonder, looking back at the 08 Red Wings that won the Cup, Babcock with the head coach, his assistants were Bill Peters, which we know what's going on there, Todd McClellan, who's routinely calling out his team in the public right now, Paul McLean, who hasn't had a head coaching job in 3 years. So that's noteworthy. And I'm not going to say it because it's not, but man, Jeff Blashill was a Babcock protege as well.
He was. He's a carbon copy. He's learned from him.
I hope Blashill has seen the light and is not employing any of Babcock's tactics. But now I can't lie. If I'm slightly concerned, he might be.
The other crappy thing we have to talk about, it's only bad news this week. Robert Bortuzzo.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Robert Bortuzzo got a 4-game suspension for cross-checking Victor Arvidsson.
Look, can I start? Can I start on this one?
Yeah, you go for it.
Because this one, again, put me at 11 out of 10 on the anger scale. I'm going to ignore the fact how vicious and violent both cross-checks on Victor Arvidsson were. If anybody hasn't seen the play, here's the breakdown. Scrum in the Blues crease. Arvidsson standing at the top of his crease, facing the net. Bortuzzo coming in to take his man out. Cross-checks Arvidsson from behind into the crossbar. Now, Arvidsson's not too hurt on that. It was a dirty play, but a 2-minute penalty at most. Okay, fine. Bortuzzo gets up, looks over at the ref, realizes he's getting a 2-minute penalty here, tilts his head back and are you kidding me? Even though it was an obvious penalty, whatever. And then as Arvidsson's on his hands and knees getting up, Bortuzzo turns back, goes, well, I'm getting a penalty anyways, might as well double down, and just drives a heavy cross-check into Arvidsson's lower back. Now, Arvidsson's on all fours, hands and knees, and there was enough force driven into his lower back that it flipped him from being stomach facing the ground to now he's on his back.
Yeah, like a spring.
Do you know how hard you have to hit a human being to flip him like that? And then, not that long after, Victor Arvidsson's announced he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So the Nashville Predators are missing one of their best players because a guy looked at a ref, realized he was getting a penalty, and said, well, I'm just going to try and hurt this guy now. As blatant of an attempt to injure as I have maybe ever seen in the game of hockey. And this jackass gets a 4-game suspension, and he's a repeat offender.
He nearly broke Brock Nelson's back a couple of years back doing the exact same thing.
He nearly snapped Victor Arvidsson in half and got 4 games. Garnet Hathaway spit on a guy, which is kind of gross, and he got 3 games.
Well, let me ask something with that. I think he should be suspended for spitting. That's stupid and disgusting.
Yeah, I was fine with 3 games for that.
Why did he get suspended and Brad Marchand licked people and we laughed and he got a warning from the league?
Because the wheel landed on 0 and then the wheel of justice landed on 3, Ryan. Robert Bortuzzo's, at best, his suspension should have started with a 1.
Yeah, his suspension should have been 10 games minimum.
10 games minimum. I'd have given him 15.
you know what? You can say, oh, it's about, you have to factor the injury into the equation. Okay. A month and a half of injury of a star player is not enough. And then you have to say, oh, you have to factor intent in the equation. There was literally no intent other than malice. There was no intent other than to injure.
The play was over. He knew he was getting a penalty. And there was actually a delay of time between the first cross-check and the second. It wasn't a moment of anger and he was finishing a play, or, you know, where you see guys run guys from behind and you know it's dirty, like when Kerfoot got suspended for boarding Johnson, where you can at least argue, well, it was in the play. It was dumb, but whatever. This was after the play, went out of his way, had time to collect his thoughts, and still did it. This is the biggest joke of a decision the Department of Player Safety has made since they decided to suspend Duncan Keith, 6 games for slashing a dude in the face.
Yeah, and he lost a bunch. It was one of the Sedins, right?
Oh, he did it. No, Duncan Keith did it twice, remember? Because on the second one, it was Jeff Carter.
Yes.
Oh, can't have him suspended for the playoffs, so they gave him 5 games plus 1 playoff game. Well, we did suspend him for the playoff.
That classic rest you for the playoff suspension.
This is a joke. The players, they say, well, the players should respect each other. They don't.
No.
You can't convince me they do anymore.
No.
They don't. The only show of respect I see from players anymore is when I saw Matt Murray go over to console Jakob Markstrom about his recently deceased father last night, which was heartwarming, but no, they don't.
Dylan Larkin was very concerned after Brett Pesce got hit in his Brett Pesce's.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Dylan Larkin's a good dude. The whole point of suspensions isn't to take money out of the player's pocket, and it's not to punish the player. We have to understand this, okay? This is what fundamentally everybody gets wrong. The reason you levy heavy suspensions on players, the main reason I should say, when they do stupid shit, is to deter other players from doing the same stupid shit. So if Robert Bortuzzo goes, I, as a bottom pairing slappy, who can go in and out of the NHL lineup because I'm objectively not a good NHL player, can go to one of the best players on one of our rival teams and put him out for a month and a half, and I'm only going to take 4 games? What? Okay, take the malice out of it. If you could go, I'm going to take Robert Bortuzzo out for 4 games if it means one of my division rivals is going to miss a top player for 6 weeks, do you not take that trade 100 out of 100 times?
Mm-hmm. You're going to go out there and start doing it.
So where the hell is the deterrent here?
The way player safety, the way those rules got built into the CBA, like I understand the player association has to look out to protect their players, so they can't get just, Roger Goodell'd and all of a sudden they're put on the cannot play list at his discretion. And that went all the way to the Supreme Court or whatever it was. Whatever. There has to be something better than this. It is. I'm out of anger. Like, I'm too tired to be as angry as I need to be about it. But it's disgusting that Bortuzzo can go out there and intentionally injure guys like this and get away with a 4-game suspension. Like, if you don't want to be punitive, like Brad said, you have to make it a deterrent. And right now, it's not doing a good job of either. It's sad because this entire episode, Brad, has been about bad things. There's almost no positives. Zadina's up, I guess. Like, that's a positive. And
it's not. He shouldn't be up. But he's playing well.
He's playing well,
relatively speaking.
No one's playing well, but he's done some things. So
he's been the least sucky.
Yeah,
through 2 games.
Do we have any good news before we get to overtime? Almost none, right?
No, my fantasy team's melting down. At least my goaltenders are. My shoulder hurts.
Oh, I beat Max 7-3. Max lost to me. I'm like last in the league, and he got dry-sidled. I forget to set my lineup most weeks.
Yeah, me too. Find out if I need surgery or not tomorrow, I think.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, both my kids are sick.
Is Hank sick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still sick.
So, funny story about
Tomorrow's
Mika.
Black Friday, and I work in a retail store.
Funny story about Mika. There's a video of her skating around the ice singing Jingle Bells. And when I got into Brad's house today, I walked in and she's like, Ryan, did you see me skating? I was like, yeah, I saw you skating. What song were you singing? And she said, Wake Me Up Inside.
Big Evanescence fan.
Huge Evanescence fan. All right, with that, we're going to head over to overtime, which, of course, on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast is brought to you by Motor City Garages. They're a family-owned and operated company servicing Metro Detroit. They do garage flooring, cabinets, overhead racks, wall storage, helping your team recover from devastating blowouts, as well as your vehicles. Enough of the messy garages everyone is sick of walking through. It's time to turn it into something useful. Whether you like to work on your car or if you'd like an organized space, we have you covered. 3D designs and a lifetime warranty. Motor City Garages, park in style. All right, we're going to head over to Patreon where our patrons get their comments read out. Patreon exclusive for midweek episodes is Overtime. We're going to load these up. There's 16 of you. Again, you guys were excited to talk about how bad the Red Wings are. Haroon Khan says, hey guys, I'm proud yet sad to say that I somehow watched the entire game last night. I was actually tearing up inside because I hate the Leafs and I hate how we just gave up. I genuinely feel bad for the young guns in our team because at least they try a little bit. It was frustrating to see the puck bounce off Nielsen's stick so many times and the repeated defensive lapses. It's all part of the rebuild, but come on, this is a storied franchise. There should be some self-respect. Anyway, since Yzerman has been trading for players in need of a fresh start, what do you guys think about trading for Tyson Jost? Let's go Red Wings, and I'm thankful for Steve Yzerman.
He still has his flashes and his price tag will be really high. I can't see that one making sense.
Yeah, that's the part deterring me is how much he's going to cost.
Yeah, the problem with true reclamation projects is you have to get so far down the pipeline to where the team gives up on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're far away from that on Jost. And also, do you know how few of these reclamation projects actually work? Like, it's rare. Fabry, for being as good as he is definitely the exception to the rule.
Yeah. Peter Ploshansky says, hey guys, it's been quite some time since I've commented, but I still feverishly wait for each episode. You guys are the bright spot in this atomic bomb of a season.
Not today.
I was watching NHL Tonight last night, and there was a discussion on who you'd rather have on your NHL team, Matthew Tkachuk or Elias Pettersson. All the old hockey guys selected Tkachuk without a second thought, saying his character and grit wins cups. My mind was a little blown as I was 1,000% on the opposite side of the discussion. While I do agree grit and character are an important part for the playoffs, I don't think the two players are in the same class. Who would you pick and why? Pettersson in less than a microsecond.
Now, here's the thing. I think Matthew Tkachuk gets sold short because he's air quotations gritty. He's actually really effing good.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a very talented hockey player, so he should be in the discussion with Pettersson because of how good of a hockey player is, not because of his intangibles, but I still take Pettersson because he's shaping up to be a top 5 player in the league very soon.
I honestly think he might actually be the most talented player in the league.
Connor McDavid says.
Sorry, that's not McDavid. Or Crosby. Or Draisaitl. He's one of the most, in terms of pure talent.
I think he's up to a Draisaitl.
By the time he's Draisaitl's age, which is 17? Then yes. Also, the body that Mo Seider has been laying in the A has been amazing. Offense isn't bad either. Hashtag German Lidstrom / Konstantinov. You guys rule. Embrace the tank. Thank you, Peter. Austin Trotman says, hey guys, I was wondering if you go back on any of the trades Yzerman has made, specifically the Regula one. I'm a London Knights fan and man, has he looked good. Cheers. Can't wait for the episode.
It's all hindsight 2020 because you take all your shots in the dark and hope one of them pans out. And out of the air quotations, reclamation projects Yzerman has traded for, one of the 3 has worked out, which is probably actually pretty good. So right now I would kill to take back the Adam Ernie trade because he's just been bad. And I'd rather have the 4th round pick. The Perlini one, I'm still okay with that because he's been getting chances, not as many as you'd like, but I can see what Yzerman's seen in him that I haven't seen in Ernie. So yeah, if given a redo, I would, but I'm not that heartbroken about that one yet. And obviously the Fabry one worked out fabulously. So the odds are holding true.
Yeah. We said with the Regula one, it could not work out and it's not really going to matter. It doesn't look like Regula is going to be what Fabry has done, which is like refine a scoring touch or anything like that. But the option and the minimization of any long-term impact was so well constructed there with that trade that would I prefer to have Regula on this team or Regula in the organization than try out Perlini? Yeah, sure. I mean, that's fine. But is it going to matter down the road? I actually really don't think so. So, yeah, if you had to pick one, I suppose that would be it. But otherwise,
I'd flip the Ernie one. He's one of the goose egg crew still.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm fine having Ernie as that 4th liner though, right?
I am. When the team's as bad, I'd rather the draft pick for another dart at the board at this point, but
Joseph Fournier says, my friends, stay fresh cheese bags is not just a cool sign-off I adopted. It's a motto, a creed, a call. Stay fresh. The season will be long and grueling, and anyone who didn't know what we were in for was lying to themselves. I entertained myself with Griffin's highlights, 90s memories, pontificating roster shuffles, and coaching changes, and this silly Athanasiu 1-for-1 trade game to help bide my time. This is what we have. Look for the silver linings and try to find something to enjoy. Relax, breathe in, breathe out. It's going to get much worse before it gets better, but when it does, it will all be worth it. We are not the fair weather fans. We are the ride or die winged wheel legion. We can survive a second Dead Wings era. Today's round of Athanasiu 1-for-1 trade game is the second to last one. Segueing from prospects to NHL talent, most of these are easy no-brainers. All right. Would you trade Athanasiu 1-for-1 for Rasmus Dahlin?
Of course.
Sam Bennett.
No chance.
Sean Monahan.
Yes.
Yes. Ryan Suzuki.
No.
Jacob Slavin. Easy yes.
Yes.
Hayden Fleury.
Good God, no.
I'd say no. Kirby Doc. Yes.
Yeah, I probably would.
Alex DeBrincat. Yes.
Yes.
Nazem Kadri. That's a no for me.
How old's Naz?
He's...
You know what? I'll just predicate this answer. If he's at least around the same age as Athanasiu, yes. But
he's 29.
No. Oh my God, Nazem Kadri's 29.
29.
What have I been doing with my life?
Cale Makar. Easiest yes in the world. Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yes.
Ryan Murray. How much do you believe in Ryan Murray's revival?
I don't, so no.
Rupe Hintz, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Miro Heiskanen,
of course.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
I'm going to say no.
Really?
He's good.
Doesn't he play center?
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that trade.
I'd do it for Nuge.
Well, I'd be okay with it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to do it.
Darnell Nurse, yes. Yes. Owen Tippett?
No.
Rasmus Kupari?
No.
Stay fresh cheese bags. P.S. Bill Peters can go fist himself. Liz B says, I knew they'd be bad, but sweet baby Jeebus, I was not prepared for this, especially considering how they finished last season. How are they worse than last year? I truly believe they will finish last. They are awful, and I will watch the entirety of every single game I'm not at work because I like this team too much to not watch. The awful hockey is going to pay off this season, right? If there are hockey gods, they will make this worth it because this is so much pain. Garrett TV says, Hockey Amigos this holiday season, I'm thankful for you guys giving us something to look forward to twice a week. What's your most memorable holiday Wings game? Here's mine. I remember hanging out with a bunch of buddies about 20 years ago watching the annual New Year's Eve game. We were playing the Kings and entering the third tied 0-0. It was a boring game, so we made it fun by drinking every time there was a stoppage in play. Needless to say, we were pretty sloshed by the third. Anyway, Stevie scored early to make it 1-0. Then Rob Blake scored to tie it with like 30 seconds left, and we all got really pissed. And then out of nowhere, Stevie scored a second of the game with under 5 seconds to play, and we won 2-1. Additional drinking ensued, always one of my more memorable games despite the hangover from slamming Batty Blues, #Celion, like I was on a flight with Wade Boggs. It's things like this that keep me going after last night. Keep getting pucks deep, let's go Red Wings. For me, it has to be the Winter Classic at the Big House. Has to be. I froze my butt off, and I'll never forget that.
They lost that game.
They lost in a shootout. I believe it was Bozak who scored. It was a backhand roof on Jimmy.
Yeah, well, there was a bunch of goals because Datsyuk scored in that shootout, too. I'm going to go with the one they won. The Winter Classic against Chicago.
Oh, nice. The Wrigley.
I remember watching that one very hungover on the couch and Pavel Datsyuk bringing me to life.
Austin Heuser says, Gents, happy American Thanksgiving. A few things I'm thankful for. 1, Steve Yzerman is the GM of the Detroit Red Wings. 2, Mo Sider laying the boom. And this podcast, seriously, love the passion you all have and display in every episode, even Evan. 4, the tank. Stevie is going to right the ship. All that said, would you rather listen in on a trade convo being had by Stevie, or listen in on contract talks with Stevie and any other player?
Trade talks for 100%.
Sure.
I'm always so fascinated. I would want to listen to both, but trade talks would definitely be my priority.
I got to think that his trade calls are a masterclass. Thanks again, boys. Let's go Red Wings. Antonio Gracias says, hello, lads. First off, happy American Thanksgiving. As expected, I'm thankful for you guys, the podcast community, and Stevie being the GM. That said, I was having a convo with my dad during last night's game, and he was asking me, how did this happen to the Wings? What caused us to fall so far from past success? I expressed that a large part of it was adjusting to the cap era while making short but expensive contracts to keep the playoff streak alive. All this while signing then young players to long contracts because they looked good in the eye test because they were playing with some of the all-time greats, a la Z, Datsyuk, Lidstrom, etc. But when those greats retire and you're left with guys with long contracts regressing to the mean, then you're locked into mediocrity. Anyways, I was curious if you could sum up how we got to this point, looking back over the last decade in a couple sentences. I just want to know your thought. Cheers.
Elite players retire. Bad contracts never expire. Never. Also, one key thing too. Never in today's NHL. Never picking in the top 5 will do this to you. You cannot coast without elite talent, and the Red Wings do not have it because they have not picked high enough to get it. Philip Zadina and Moritz Seider maybe fit that bill.
Father Time is undefeated, even if he had to wait longer with the Red Wings. Ken Holland signed atrocious contracts. Matt Cheney says, holy moly, there's a lot of dirt that's come out about hockey coaches this last week. Since you guys are a positive podcast, oops, sorry about this episode.
Yeah, we try.
What is your favorite funny or good guy NHL coach story other than Coach Q betting $250,000 on a horse race before the Cup final? There's
good guy coach story. Oh, it's depressing how few are coming to mind.
This one's not a good guy story, but it's a funny story that Ozzy told on D-Max Pod, and it was about how Ozzy was always a partier, like always was out with the party crew, and Scotty used to call around to the bars to see if any of the Red Wings were there so he can come bring them home for curfew. And Ozzy decided to stay home one night. He was watching some kind of TV show, and that rarely happened. And Scotty went to the bar and found like 4 of them there, and he stayed looking around for Osgood because he was expecting him to be there. And everyone was like, he's not here. And then the next day at practice, he got reamed out. He's like, I know you were there. And Ozzy was like, I wasn't there. He's like, I know you were there, man. It was just so funny that Ozzy had that reputation.
Only one I can remember.
Oh, Drape said that story, sorry.
Yeah. Only one I can remember coming to mind off the top is during Washington's playoff run when they won the Cup a couple of years ago when Barry Trotz did the hot lap at the end of practice, just watching his old ass haul ass around the rink while his team was all fired up. I love stuff like that. Yeah. Also, John Tortorella rescues dogs, and that just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
John, who knew that out of all of this, John Tortorella would come out looking like a good guy? Right? Like, he didn't have the best reputation in terms of how he treated players, and he's come out scot-free so far. Evan Beckner says, hey guys, happy Thanksgiving, or as you know it, Thursday. I'm sure you'll touch on the coaching dumpster fire, so I'll take the conversation back to a topic from last pod. The suspension was levied against what's his nuts for the cross-check on Arvidsson. 4 games while Arvidsson is out for longer doesn't seem fair. I propose if a player is suspended for a dangerous play where they injured another player, either intentional or negligent, then the offending player cannot play until the injured player returns. Also, whatever suspension would be served after the injured player returns. So if Arvidsson is out for a month, then what's his nuts is out for a month plus 4 games. I don't think the PA would ever go for it, but it sounds fair to me. I love that, honestly. If it's a freak play. If it's a freak play, no, like that happens. But if you're intentionally injuring a player, you're out as long as they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm only okay with that if it's on a suspension deemed intent to injure, because then it gets into a lot of gray area. Because there's minor infractions that can lead to devastating injuries just by fluke bad luck. So you'd hate to see a guy like accidentally bump into the back of a guy and his head snapbacks and hit the ice. Like that's not a 4-month suspension if Buddy gets a concussion, but if it's deemed intent to injure, then you don't come back till that guy comes back.
Jacob Lozen says, happy American Thanksgiving. Shout out to Canada for not having Black Friday. And Bill Peters is still a piece of shit. This slice of pie I'm about to consume is sponsored by Stay Fresh Cheese Bags, and I eat it in honor of you, Dud Duds. That is all. Matt Balker says, hey, Dud Duds. Misery loves company. First the Wings get embarrassed by Keeps Leafs, and then I get sick on Thanksgiving. The greatest holiday. So I'm thankful for leftovers and you guys helping us through the season. But holy frick, is this team bad? So bad that Stay Fresh Cheese Bags can't even mask the smell. Question. Wings are on pace for a total goal differential of minus 141.9. So over or under minus 142.5 goal differential?
I'm going to say under because it's just not possible, right? That's not possible, right?
They can't keep getting worse. They can't.
No, there's no way.
Cameron Brown says, hey guys, hope I'm not too late. This whole mountain time thing is screwing with me a bit. Just started my new job out here on the mountain. I'll try to get some better picks when it's not snowing. But on to my question. Are you guys okay? How are y'all still getting through this? I'm enjoying all the East Coast home games being at 5, but damn, they're just making me want to go to bed early. I even found a bar out here that can get the FSD feed, but it's still getting to the point it's not worth it. Either way, I'm still in. Let's go Red Wings. We're doing it for you guys. You guys are the ones that give us life through this because it is hard. P.S. Cam says if there's any Wings fans in the Bozeman/Big Sky, Montana area that want to watch this dumpster fire too, let me know. I need friends. Advanced Water says happy Thanksgiving, dub. A pretty common tradition is to go around the table and say what we're thankful for. So let's do that. I'll go first. I'm thankful for Zadina, this podcast, and my wife's pumpkin pie. Okay, Ryan, now it's your turn. Then just go clockwise. I'm thankful for Crystal Crisco for putting up with us in here for near on 5 years before we found somewhere else so she could go ahead and be a mother to her kids and take care of a household without worrying what 2 to 3 dumbheads in the basement making everything be quiet. That's what I'm grateful for.
I'm grateful for Mika Crisco for giving me my one chance of fleeting fame because she's adorable.
Philip Gastineau says, why the frick would they not play the emergency goalie? I feel robbed. The fact that they didn't ask Chris Osgood to step down from the broadcasting booth into the dressing room, put some pads on and get out there is an abomination, and they hate fun.
Did they even let the emergency goalie sit on the bench?
I'm not sure. I didn't see him, but
I heard he was sitting in the room shortly after, but I never actually paid attention to see if he got out to the bench. If they didn't get him out to the bench, fire Blashill just for that.
Honestly, they hate fun. It's the only good storyline that would have happened this season.
Because he was in his gear. Like, they confirmed. He got dressed.
Yeah. But they decided that, no, we can't let him out there. We can't have a Scott Foster story. Scott Foster story is the best thing to happen to Chicago in a long time.
If that Josh Block guy got into the game and allowed 12 goals, it's still the best story of the season.
Arjun Shankar says, I missed the Red Wings game because I saw Milwaukee versus Manitoba with my brother and a friend. Manitoba scored an own goal on the empty net on a delayed penalty.
I saw that.
Top-notch stuff. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast just on an hour. We'll get back to some longer episodes. Guys, I'm moving in on Saturday, which means we'll be able to start recording at the house soon. It has floors now. Ethernet's not wired up, but these guys wouldn't really care about that. You don't bring your laptops. With that, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. We'd like to thank all of our listeners, all of our patrons, our name level sponsors, Luke Johnson, Arjun Shankar, Clayton Van Dyken, Mike Reed, Langabeer, Matthew M. Rice, Ryan Lewis, Sean Levine, Matt McKay, Hannah Lee, Kaylin Wood, Jacob Turner, Charlie Elkins, John Evans, Rob Thiel, Craig Kibble, Stan Olson, Ryan Lewis, and Simon Anderson. Thank you all. Hopefully next episode is more positive. Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.